Hello, I'm Jeffrey Hauser. I'm a technical entrepreneur. I do IT and programming work, and I'm at a computer all day long. I'm about to have laser eye surgery, and I wanted to sort of put down a video diary of it, and this is sort of the start of that. So I wanted to document my process, and here I am. So who am I? I'm in my early 40s. I'm farsighted. That means I see far away really well, but I have trouble with things up close. So I started wearing glasses about 3 years ago for computer work and some small print reading if I have to. But primarily I don't wear glasses for anything else, like driving or watching TV or going to the movies or walking or whatever. So I did a lot of reading online. There's tons of information about LASIK. It's hard to find anybody to say anything bad about it. There's really two types of procedures, which you'll find information if you look. One is normal LASIK, where they cut the flap in your eye, flip it over, do their laser thing, and flip it back. The other is PRK, where they rub the top of your eye, laser it, and then it grows back slowly over time. So LASIK has quicker healing time, usually a couple days, and you're fine. PRK up to 6 months for everything to get completely back to normal, but usually after a few days you should be fine. Usually up to seven days you should be completely functional, is from what I understand. So those are the two things. Ton more information online than I could ever offer here, and then I even care to offer here. My understanding, my interpretation of everything I've read is that people like PRK, not people, just PRK is known to be better long term, is my interpretation of everything I've read, because it's less likely to have complications but it has longer healing time, so more people go with the flap cutting LASIK than PRK. And since I'm farsighted, I know these procedures are really built for nearsighted people. Since I'm farsighted, I know the satisfaction of the people is much lower for farsighted people than nearsighted people. So after my online research, I was cautiously optimistic that it could help me. I decided to research further, because first of all, I'm also in my 40s. There's a hardening of the eyes. I think it's called presbyopia, which happens after you turn 40. And I wasn't sure if I was having that or PRK could actually help with that, or LASIK. And so there I am. I decided to see some doctors and go get some preliminary appointments to see if this could actually help me. So, my first appointment was with Dr. Golden Hamden. He's very well reviewed on the internet. And I first came upon him, there was a Reddit thread in the Connecticut forum that somebody asked about LASIK and PRK, and a lot of people recommended him. So I'm like, well, this is good. I did research online. He has tons of reviews, very positive reviews. So a lot of people love him. He often wins like local awards from local papers. So I'm like, well, I got to meet this guy. So he called up, made the appointment. He was the first appointment I made. Could see me within I think it was the very next week or a couple days or something. So he was awesome, and he is known, and this is what I've discovered, for actually being up front and doing a lot of the things, the tests himself. So he is very materially involved in his business, and that's great. So I liked him. Didn't want to make a complete commitment. He was the first person I talked to. I still wasn't convinced. He specializes in PRK, so he doesn't do LASIK at all. And he says the reason is a study a few years back discovered that this LASIK flap never heals, so at any point could cause long-term complications, which is why he tries to push people towards PRK. So I walked out of there feeling more positively optimistic than before I did my own research, but wanted to get a second opinion before committing. So my second place was Hartford LASIK and PRK. This is one of those like mass market type of places where the doctor just rotates between a bunch of things, and you don't actually meet the doctor till like the day of your surgery, and so you don't develop any rapport. I didn't really like that. This is actually the worst place I went to. I didn't like them at all. They came highly recommended to me by someone close who had really good experience with them, but my experience was just bad. It's also the only place that told me there are absolutely no complications to LASIK or PRK, and there's nothing to worry about, even if the worst possible thing, bad thing happens. So that made me suspicious of them altogether, and I felt I got some attitude, and they weren't really very communicative through the process. So I did some preliminary eye tests, and they dilated my eyes and had me go sit down. And then they told me they were going to bring me a video and something, which they never did. And at that point, I actually thought I was done. I didn't know. And then somebody else called me in, so then I sat with a doctor. This is after my eyes were dilated, and they were having me do these like standard eye tests. Can you read this? Which is blurry? Which is blurrier and something? But of course, my eyes were so dilated, everything was blurry, and I couldn't really make out anything or read anything. So it was just a sour experience for me. So I made 2 more appointments. One was with the LASIK Vision Institute in Hamden, and they're another mass marketplace, so I didn't get to meet the doctor who would actually be performing the surgery. I don't like that. But, I mean, they were awesome, and I liked them a lot, but I as an entrepreneur, I have some experience with sales and have done research into it. So everything that they did was sort of organized around to make the sale. So when you walk in, it's like, hello, how you doing? A nice handshake from the people at the desk, and like the office manager walked up and said hi, and it just stuff like that is meant to make them sticky in your mind, and so you're more likely to come back and go with them. They told me, we have discounts that are probably expiring in a month, so you should schedule your surgery now and make the commitment. Is all a very positive experience going through the whole process. And I believe it was Dr. Egan, the optometrist, and I'm hoping I'm using that word right, and getting her designation correct. I mean, she was just really cool about the whole thing. And what they did for me, which no other place did, is they set me up like a pair of like sort of fox glasses type thing, so I could see what my eyes would be like with monovision, which is that's something they do for people when they get older. So one eye is for short distance, one eye is for long distance, and they had me walk around and look at their computers and read some stuff and try to read stop signs across the street and stuff. And so I walked out of there feeling very positive. Wasn't sure I wanted to commit to monovision, wasn't sure I wanted to commit to them. Actually, because I wasn't meeting the doctor who would be performing the surgery, I was pretty sure I didn't want to go with them. But everybody was sort of professional. I mean, even those discounts that tried to get me to sign up immediately, I got an email like a week later or something that offered me another $1,000 off, which is so that's just a sales technique to try to drag you in, since they've already done the upfront work. But in the end, because I wasn't meeting the doctor, I really wanted to meet a doctor beforehand, develop some sort of rapport or communication before just being thrown into a place where he's cutting my eyes open and zapping them. My last appointment was with Eye Center of Southern Connecticut with Dr. Milner, and so he was tough. So my mom goes to some place in Danbury, which is a bit far from me, and but they were associated with the surgery center in Cheshire, which is a lot closer to me. So I filled out this web form on the surgery center's website and heard nothing back. Then I gave them a call, and they said, well, you have to come in here with the doctor. So who's your doctor? I said, well, I don't have a doctor yet. I'm in the research stage. And so they said, oh, we can't really help you. Best we can do is, they went through some local doctors, local to me, and that work with them. And I chose one, and it was Dr. Milner, who's close enough and doesn't have a lot of online information about him, some reviews, but positive, but not a lot. So I went to called his office once, and that went nowhere, and called his office again, and ended up playing telephone tag a few times before I could actually finally schedule the appointment, and he was booked out they had a long booking period, so it was it was like a month before they could actually see me, just for the initial sort of consultation to figure out if my eyes are good for this type of surgery or not, which, having already had 3 appointments, I was pretty sure they would be. They wanted me to pay for the appointment. They were the only people that made me pay for the initial appointment, but I thought, because I'm actually going to see the doctor who'd be performing the surgery, so I'd love to get his opinion. before I decide whether to move forward or not. So it was a good decision. I'm glad I did it, even though it was the additional cost on top of everything else. Dr. Milner was really cool, straightforward. Everyone there was awesome. They are the only place that documented almost like every possible thing that could go wrong. It listed like dozens of things that could go wrong with either LASIK or PRK. They recommended, and which is kind of why I backed off from them, they strongly recommended LASIK because they said LASIK, with cutting out the flap and everything, is better for farsighted people. And I couldn't find anyone or anything online that would verify that. And none of the other doctors told me that same thing. So that was just a kind of felt like, I don't know if they meant to say that, but that's what they communicated to me. After seeing these 4 doctors, or not all doctors, but four places that do these type of procedures, I ended up going with Dr. Gold because he's most well reviewed, and he was also specializing in PRK. He's one of the few, like in the US, that specializes in PRK and doesn't do LASIK. He's done LASIK for a long time, but as studies and time progressed, flap complications, since the flap never heals, is why he moved to do PRK exclusively. So I'm cautiously optimistic about the procedure, especially my right eye is blurry and all the time, pretty much, and my left eye is the dominant one, is what they've been calling it. So I think it's going to improve the right eye a lot, and I think I'll just notice that all around. And it should remove my need for glasses when I'm sitting at the computer. Well, I'm cautiously optimistic about it. They say in 5 to 10 years, I may need glasses for things that are up close. Because of, I believe it's called presbyopia, the hardening of the eyes. It remains to be seen if that's actually going to happen, but it seems probable based on what they're telling me. So, of course, I'm hoping I won't need glasses again, but I might. Or I may be able to go back in and do another procedure to get monovision or something else. I know if you go out of the US, there's other procedures other than monovision for presbyopia and the hardening of the eyes, and but they're not approved in the US, although they are under clinical trials based on what I could find. So anyway, those are my thoughts before the procedure, which I'll be jumping into in 2 days now. So in 48 hours, I will be done and sleeping and on drugs. I hope to get video of the actual procedure, which I'll of course won't be taking it, but hopefully my driving partner will be, and then I hope to do updates over time to see how it goes, because I hit a lot of the odd things for this, because I'm older, I'm farsighted. So how does this stuff really work for farsighted people? I'm going to find out.